welcome back to Ready to Die Fighting. I'm Kris, and today I'm kicking off a new series. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but it is Firearms for Beginners. I'm fairly new to the whole firearms thing myself, and when I first started, I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge about guns in general. Most of my friends are fairly anti-gun. I was fairly anti-gun myself, probably not for the reasons that you'd expect, but I still kind of was like, guns, who needs them? But as I became more and more of a prepper, it became pretty obvious to me that that was something I needed to learn more about and get some training in, and make sure I was able to defend myself should that shit hits the fan. So, when you're starting out, if you don't have a lot of information or people around you who are into it, it can be kind of intimidating. And what I've learned is that going to gun shops, I won't say that they're not friendly, but it's kind of a weird place. It definitely can be intimidating, it definitely be awkward, and the fact that you are buying, renting, handling something that is a weapon, it needs to be taken seriously, and you really need to know what you're doing so that you can do it safely. And so I want to help navigate through some of that. You know, I stumbled a lot along the way, but I feel pretty comfortable with my knowledge right now. Pretty comfortable with the guns that I do own. I'd like to get more. I'd like to get more training. It's kind of a continual thing, but I'm at a point where I think I can help out some of the beginners with some of those questions that you may not even know to ask. I remember that was the big thing, is like I wanted to research more, I wanted to learn more, but I didn't even know what I didn't know, and that makes it hard. So hopefully this series can help you guys out with that. I guess in this first video I really want to talk about why. Like I said, I was anti-gun for a long time, and in some ways I still am. Anti-gun probably isn't the right word, but I'm not as pro-gun as many other pro-gun people are. I don't know if that makes sense either. But my thought was, I've been a martial artist or practiced martial arts much of my life, off and on. And I always felt that guns were a bit cowardly. I mean, aside from the military, but, you know, I just thought, like, you know, you could grab a high-powered rifle and throw a scope on it, and, you know, you can pick people off without them ever even knowing that they're under attack. And that just didn't sit too well with me. Like, that's not fair. That's not fighting. That's not, you're not a strong person. You're not a brave. That's, again, military aside, that's a different thing. But just for your average civilian, I didn't like that too much. Also, you know, I think of like a drive-by or these mass shootings. You can just go and just spray bullets everywhere and not even know what you're hitting or who you're hitting or if you're even hitting anyone. And the whole thing just seemed cowardly and off-putting to me. I was like, you know, if you want to kill me, come here face to face right in front of me and fight me. You know, wrestle me to the ground, beat me up. If you can overpower me, outskill me, outthink me, outfight me in every way, and defeat me, if you, even with a knife, if you can stab me and you have the, I guess, the courage to look me in the eye and watch the life drain from my eyeballs, then I guess you deserve that kill. Anything short of that just felt cowardly to me. And I still feel that way to a certain extent. I think it's far more important to be able to defend yourself with your fists, with you know, your body, to be able to de-escalate, to be able to avoid these situations in the first place. Situational awareness. I put far more value on those skills and those things than I do firearms. And this is just my personal beliefs. But at the end of the day, guns are the great equalizer. And in the United States, there are more firearms than there are people floating around. So if the bad guys have guns, it kind of doesn't make sense for me to limit myself and not have one. Because like I said, they are the great equalizer. And so I kind of had to come to peace with that. And it was like, it's just another tool. So that was more the reason why I was anti-gun. Not so much that I don't think anybody should have them or anything like that. It's just, that was my beliefs. But the real reasons why most people, I'm not even going to go into why people don't want guns, because that's kind of irrelevant. Let's talk about why you do want them. As a prepper or a survivalist, it's only realistic if you believe that something's going to happen. Say the grid goes down, an EMP, a terrorist attack, civil unrest, civil war, massive famine, whatever. If you believe that things are going to get that bad, where you're going to need to depend on yourself and your preps, your water that you've stored, you need to have your own medical things, you need to be able to create your own food and all that, you're going to have to rely on yourself to defend yourself as well. The police are not going to be available to help. If there's no power, they're not going to be able to communicate. They're not going to be able to receive calls. They're going to be spread pretty thin, even if they are working at all. I mean, think about it. If things are that bad, I mean, these are human beings. They have families. They have homes. I mean, are you going to make sure that your wife and kid is okay first and protect them? Or are you going to put on your badge and go to work and, assume that they're fine? I'm not faulting these guys at all, guys and girls. Your family comes first. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? I'm not mad at that. It's only realistic. Some of them may work anyway for a limited time. Probably not long term. Probably not. So one of the common sayings or phrases around the prepper community that I like a lot is, you are your own first responder, where you're not going to be able to depend on them. Even if they are working, you may not be able to contact them to call for help. And the bad guys are going to know that. They're going to know that. Alarm systems may not work. Police aren't going to be able to respond. What are you going to do? There are bad people now. We have a booming economy. We have all these modern luxuries. We have, things are fairly good. And we still have a strong police officer or force. Is well-funded, well-trained, all these things. We've got cameras everywhere. And there are still kidnappings. There's still murders. There's still robberies. There's still rapes. There's still human trafficking. There's still all sorts of stuff happening. And that's under the best of circumstances. What's going to happen when things get bad? Those bad guys are still going to be there. And good people in desperate times make poor choices. That's not how the saying goes, but that's what it is. Desperate measures. Desperate people do desperate things in desperate times. That's, I think, how it goes, actually. But, and again, that makes sense. Poverty or crime follows poverty. And that doesn't mean that poor people are inherently more violent, but it means limited resources mean that people have less options. They have less hope. They're more desperate. Even a rich person, if they haven't saved food, if they haven't saved water, if they don't have medicine, you can't eat money. Money doesn't keep you warm. I guess if you burn it, maybe, but I don't know how long that'll last. A rich man can become poor very quickly once the shit hits the fan. And now that person's desperate for food. Maybe they're a good person who would never hurt anybody under normal circumstances, but watching your kid slowly starve to death, that might cause you might rob someone. You might want to take something that someone else has. I have never been in that situation, so I can't say. But that's a thing that definitely can happen, and police aren't going to be there to respond. It only makes sense to have everything that you can to keep yourself and your loved ones and your property safe. And you might not be able to do that with the fists alone. You might not. Maybe. Probably not. Especially if they've got weapons. Especially if there's more than one of them. So, I had a hard time reconciling that. Like, I can't say that I believe these bad things can happen. I need to prepare without also being able to defend myself from the people out there who may do harm under those circumstances. Also, peace of mind. The power outages that we have had here, and we've had a few, I do feel safer. It's just peace of mind. I can sleep a little bit better. I don't remember where I heard it, but just the idea of being able to sleep through the storm because you know that things are fine. And not to say that having a firearm is going to make everything fine, but I do find that I sleep a little bit better, specifically when the power is out. Specifically when I think things could be a little sketchy and I might be a little bit more compromised. Peace of mind counts. That's one less thing that I have to worry about, at least as much. And is in a high stress situation, when things are already bad, every little bit that you can do to be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more secure, a little bit more lower the anxiety, I think you're going to be better off. You're going to be able to concentrate more and focus better and work better and, all that. Additionally, hunting. You're going to need food, right? Hunting may not be the most practical thing, but in a stressful time, trapping is probably going to be your best bet to get food without, because hunting requires a lot of calories burnt, a lot of time spent. You probably are better off with trapping, but at the same time, why limit yourself? If you think you can hunt, you're better off having that option that you can. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with a firearm. Shoot a deer. I mean, yeah, you could do a bow and arrow. You could get better range with a with a rifle. I don't know if a bow and arrow is gonna work on a bird flying overhead. You get a shotgun with some bird shot, probably better off than trying to do a bow and arrow. So having options. The last reason, another reason, so I think I had 5, so I think I named 3 there, but the next reason is, let's say you have a farm or whatever, some kind of way crops that you're growing, pests will be an issue. Now, right now, if a deer or rabbit, whatever, comes and chews up all your plants, well, that's an inconvenience. It's kind of annoying. But what if you depend on that food to live on? And I'm not talking about like a massive farm. Maybe you just got like a small little garden, and that's where you grow the things that you and your family eats on a regular basis. And some deer comes and eats it all, messes it all up. What if coyotes come and eat your chickens? No, that's not a inconvenience. I'm not really for just killing animals for no reason. Certainly not just because they're a pest to you. But at that point, that could be a matter of life and death. Additionally, you could then eat that animal after you killed it. Hey, 2 birds, 1 stone. So, I think that was all the reasons that oh, and the last ones, they're just fun. They're just fun. Guns are fun. Play a video game. How many of them have guns? How many Nerf guns, water guns, paintball? It's just a fun thing. It's just fun. Once you start going to the range, once you're comfortable with it, it's just a fun hobby. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Just have fun. So there's 5 reasons. I didn't make it a list officially. Like I say, "Ooh, here's the 5 reasons why you should." It just had 5 in mind, and that's them. I forgot what else I was going to say about this. Oh, and now another reason that isn't really, it's not, I guess, the typical reason, but it's the reason that really pushed me over the edge to make my first purchase, was I wanted a better understanding of firearms in general. Like the majority of my experience was just kind of the, I don't know, the gun nuts, I guess you could say, who seemed I don't know how you describe a gun now, but you know what I'm talking about. And that was a little bit off-putting to me. And there was all this debate about the different gun laws and how easy it is to get a gun, and debate about these different policies and whatnot. And I didn't really get it. It was like I didn't have a strong opinion one way or the other. Like, I don't know, my gut tells me kind of this, but I can kind of see that. I don't know what's true. So I wanted to learn for myself, and that was what really made me pull the trigger and decide to buy one. I was like, how easy is it? How easy is it to get a gun? How hard is it to learn how to do this? Like, what is safe with this? Like, how we're talking about these different policies and whatnot. What makes sense? I really don't know. So by purchasing one and getting training and getting licensed, I have a much better understanding. And so now I can have an informed opinion. I can vote appropriately. I can have discussions that make sense and know what people are talking about. And that has been immensely valuable to me. Because that's something I like to, if I'm going to talk about something, I like to know what I'm talking about. So I think that's good. And going back to, there's more guns than people. Like, even if you don't have one, you should still know about them, because there's a good chance that you may encounter one, because they are around. They are around everywhere. And once the shit has hit the fan, even if someone lends you one at that point, that's not the time you want to learn. You want to know what you're doing beforehand. You want to be comfortable with what you're using. You want to understand why you're using it, and if you want to be of a good choice as to like which one makes sense to you to use for your circumstances. So I guess maybe that was 7 reasons. But well, this video's longer than I thought it would be. So I guess just this first one, we talked about the reasons why. And in the next few videos, I don't know how long this series is going to be, there's a lot of different types and styles and brands and companies, and they all have different roles. And even within those types and all that, there's a lot of variance. There's just a lot of stuff you need to know that can intimidate you. And so I kind of want to just make a series talking about all these different aspects. And we'll see how this goes. So I like my voice. I like listening to it. I assume you guys do too. It's kind of I always have to make it weird. So if you think this is going to be something that's interesting or helpful to you, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. All that fun stuff. And I will see you on the next one.